It wasn't the cameras, the fans, or the expectations that brought them closer. It was the quiet in-between moments. The ones no one sees. A glance held a second too long before a take. A laugh shared while their scripts rested forgotten on their laps. Eyes that found each other even when they didn't mean to. David Licauco and Barbie Forteza had always shared a kind of chemistry that directors loved and fans adored. But now that energy seemed to have spilled beyond the screen. Lately something had shifted. They weren't just co-stars anymore, not really. There was a new softness in how David looked at her. A kind of respect and tenderness that didn't need words. He never said much about it, but those closest to the set noticed how he would wait for her after takes, how his gaze lingered when she walked away. And Barbie? She never confirmed anything, but her silence spoke louder than any denial. She'd smile when his name came up in interviews. Not the rehearsed kind, but the kind that hinted at something real. But the air around them grew heavy when another name entered the picture. A fellow actor, talented, rising, charismatic. Someone Barbie had been working closely with on a different project. Suddenly there were whispers. Photos. A candid shot of them laughing at a cafe. Another of him walking her to her car late at night. It wasn't scandalous, but it was enough to stir the pot. Enough to make fans wonder. Is this something more? David never said a word about it, but his silence was different now. Controlled. Careful. He still praised Barbie in interviews, still called her one of the most grounded people he had ever worked with. But that spark in his eyes when he spoke of her, it flickered just slightly. He didn't need to ask who the other guy was. He already knew. And that knowing, that unspoken ache, was the kind that only someone truly invested would feel. Barbie, ever poised, didn't owe anyone an explanation. But once, in a fleeting Instagram story, she left a line that stayed with everyone. Asterisk, the heart knows. Even when the world doesn't. Asterisk, no tags, no photos, no context. Just that. And maybe that was her way of saying it wasn't confusion she felt, it was clarity. The kind that doesn't need to be justified to anyone but yourself. Maybe it wasn't a love triangle at all. Maybe it was just two people navigating something fragile under a spotlight that never dims. Maybe Barbie wasn't torn. Maybe she was just trying to figure out how to protect something real in a world that rarely lets love stay private. And David? He never chased the attention. He waited. Not for a headline, but for a moment when it would all make sense. Because sometimes the most romantic stories aren't the ones shouted from the rooftops. They're the ones whispered quietly, in rooms with no cameras, between hearts that recognize each other. Even in the chaos.